I will say something today. It's gonna get clipped by my haters 1,500 times. I'm still gonna say it, because the truth shall prevail. Okay, so I've got my blue light here. Look how blue I am. I've got my orange light here. Look at that. Blue and orange. Love it. So dear noble ones, about 2 years ago, I made a video, right? Because that's what I do. I make videos. To be specific, this video here called The Woman King Exposed Propaganda Lies versus Historical Truth. Now, some people did not like this video, other people loved this video, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm always ready to welcome constructive criticism, which means anything that doesn't just call me a racist. Just because I wasn't particularly fond of both the way this movie represented the Kingdom of Dahomey, historical Kingdom of Dahomey, and in general the attitude of the actors. Anyways, it's been 2 years. I don't exactly remember what I said, so how about we check it together and we see if there's something I need to correct? Because if I said something wrong, you know, I should admit it. So let's do that. Let me tell you, however, that if I did not say something wrong, I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna double down. Metatron, I'm so offended. Let's go. After the king, the outlaw king, the woman king. Seriously, what is it with producers and kings? Here's a free suggestion for the next one, the pasta king. I still hold that suggestion strongly. Pasta king should be the next. Hey, noble ones. Hey. Today we're going to talk about The Woman King, a recently released film set in the 1820s in West Africa, which tells us the story of the Agojie, a historically documented all-female warrior regiment. I'm going to interrupt myself, but I mean, look at the way they're dressed in this historical picture, and then compare it to the costume department of the actual movie. Then tell me I'm wrong. Belonging to the Kingdom of Dahomey, and their interactions with European colonizers, among other things. The film is being the center of all sorts of controversy in the last few weeks, from Rotten Tomatoes allegedly changing the score to a basically perfect score of 99%, but then when you go look at the actual reviews, you see that out of like 260 reviews, 240 actually one-liners with 5 stars. Great movie, amazing actors, wonderful spamming of bots, to people on the other side of the spectrum spamming hashtags saying that the film should be boycotted. Absolutely, I gotta say, I agree with myself so far. So we're about, 1 minute in. I want to say that one of the people that sort of provided a little bit of constructive criticism when it comes to this and disagreed with me, I'm not going to say his name right now, but we have exchanged many emails over this, and he is an African history specialized YouTuber, and generally speaking does a very, very good job. He did say that up to minute 6:45, he agreed with everything I said. So now I'm kind of curious to see what I said after minute 6:45. The disagreement should appear later, but then again, if I catch something, I'll disagree with myself. And I know what he was thinking. It's probably like white supremacists that want the film cancelled, right? Because of the mostly black cast. No, it's actually black people that are mad, and rightly so.
Backlash from the black community.
Okay, so this is an interesting sector because another channel, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want you guys to go and gang up on him, against him, because he has made quite a few videos criticizing me, but not in a very good way, I'll be honest with you, mate. Like, sometimes you bring up good points, but other times, right-wing grifter. I mean, I have no respect for that. Regardless, right now I'm not going to say his name. We'll see in the future. He was offended by the fact that I am now, in this video, I was showing a content creator like Black Conservative because he's a right-winger. I mean, he's like, oh, look, Metatron, it's problematic that he watches these kind of creators, which to me is insane, because I said publicly multiple times that I watch creators on the left and the right. I watch both, precisely because I want to keep an open mind. So yes, I watch Black Conservative sometimes, I watch Matt Walsh sometimes, I watch H-Bomber Guy on the other side, and I used to watch Destiny before of his absolute absurd meltdown, after which I stopped watching him. But I do watch creators on both sides because I enjoy doing that, and there is nothing wrong, and I will not be intimidated by the guilty by association mentality, which is a cancer. And I do not use that word lightly. And not to mention this coming from someone who says my opinions are racist, and then he tells me I shouldn't watch a black YouTuber because okay, let's go.
Against The Woman King.
This movie, The Woman King.
You know, like Hollywood has they have no soul anymore.
So what happened? Well, let me tell you. There really is a lot to say about this film, from its premises to its failures. It might not be easy to encapsulate everything I've got to say in one single video, but essentially we're going to talk about two things.
Yeah.
One, I'll tell you the reason for the controversy behind the film, including a few statements by Viola Davis, which...
Yeah, absolutely, we gotta talk about that.
I would define as utterly moronic. Two, I'll answer the question that you are most likely going to ask me if you are a subscriber to this channel. Is the movie a historically accurate depiction of the Kingdom of Dahomey and the events that unfolded?
Notice that I say that at minute 12:47, which of course, considering the average watch time the video got, I think most people didn't watch. Perhaps that's a mistake of mine, I should have put it earlier on, but I do go into a little bit of a discussion over the history of both the Kingdom of Dahomey, just spoken a little generally, but specifically about the Agojie, so the women warriors. And that part, I think, is still very valid today, and it's an interesting section where I present some well-researched history.
As always, in order to do a professional job, we need to set aside our emotions and use logic and reason to assess and analyze the situation.
Absolutely, nobody cares about feelings when we're talking about history. It's facts. Full stop. It doesn't matter what political propaganda it dismantles. It really doesn't matter where it comes from, as long as we stick to the facts.
The one thing that I can say right off the bat, which unfortunately is one of the very few good things I can say about this movie, is that at least it's a step in the right direction when it comes to the setting, or it would have been if they had done it right.
Yeah, shut up, Metatron. So basically what I'm saying here is the idea that I was happy that they were setting a movie with black actors into Africa, making it therefore correctly placed when it comes to the racial or ethnic component. That's what I mean here. Perhaps I will explain it.
What do I mean by that? If you've been following me for a while, you already know that I've been complaining for years about both the blackwashing of non-black historical characters and the whitewashing of non-white historical characters. In other words, I'm a huge supporter of the idea that history and historical characters should be represented with their own ethnicity
100%.
and gender, untouched. Because they are, well, historical. And any form of infotainment that is based on real events and real characters, even though they can take some liberties when compared to a full-on documentary, they still have a responsibility because they have the power to inform or misinform.
I once again agree with my past self in this case, and I want to just sort of underline the fact that whenever you do a race swapping, it doesn't matter if you do it for representation, it doesn't matter if you do it for inclusivity, you're still doing a disservice to both. Not only the people that are being changed, because if someone was white, it was white. If someone was black, it was black. It is what it is. But you're also doing a disservice to the people that you are injecting into someone else's history, because at the end of the day, you're kind of downplaying their history, which is why, at least when it comes to the setting, I was happy with The Woman King. Stupidest title ever, by the way.
Particularly when they say this.
I think the reason why The Woman King is important is because it's historical and it's real. Because it's historical and it's real.
So don't cast a white actor to play Shaka Zulu and don't cast a black actor to play Charlemagne.
Of course, that's my idea, hasn't changed. And this connects perfectly to a very pertinent situation when it comes to what we read in the Los Angeles Times, that we're covering not only the interview by Viola Davis and what she was saying about both the boycott of the movie and in general the message they were trying to spread, but most importantly something that her husband said that she agrees with. And we read, Julius Tennant, one of the movie's producers and Davis' husband, also talked about the criticism. Check this out. It's history, but we have to take license. We have to entertain people. If we just told the history lessons, which we very well could have, there would be a documentary. Yeah, like Cleopatra. Tennant said, we didn't want to shy away from the truth. The history is massive and there are truths on that are there. If people want to learn more, they can investigate more. Perfect screen stop right there, me pointing the finger. You see, the problem with this is the following. You either choose, as producers, a position of, well, it's fiction, lightly historically inspired fiction, but it is fiction, so we took massive liberties, and therefore you can't really be mad at us. Go do your own research. That's one approach you can take. Or you can take the other approach, which we have just witnessed, the one where the actress says,
I think the reason why The Woman King is important is because it's historical and it's real, because it's historical and it's real.
These two statements are mutually exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. You either say that what defines the movie, the production, and the general blueprint that they followed is that, yeah, we wanted to take a little bit of a historically inspired series or story, but it's highly fictional, so cut us some slack. That's one. Or you say that what defines the movie and makes it important is the fact that it's historical and real. Because they chose the latter, I went down with it, and I do not apologize for it. I stand firm. Let's continue.
To play Charlemagne. So here's my question for you. How does that connect with the idea of representation, meaning the representation of ethnic minorities within the, say, demographics of the United States of America, which is where the majority of the content that we consume on a daily basis is produced? Well, representation has been a major concern in mainstream American production for a while now, and even though it may appear that they are trying to solve it, in reality, in my opinion, they're doing it the wrong way. As I've said multiple times on this platform, representation is important, it should be addressed, it should be there. However, if you want more African American, or African for that matter, actors to appear on screen, tell us about African kingdoms, African gods, African stories, African American stories, African British or whatever you stories. That's the right way to cast a black actor. We often say that in our...
I 100% agree with myself. I mean, at least the first 6 minutes and 45. Give me the first 6 minutes and 45. Obviously, I understand and I fully recognize that among some of the people, so that's one thing I should change when I first said, no, it's black people that they don't like this movie, it's not white supremacists. Sure, there will be a few white supremacists, actual white supremacists that are in there and they hate the movie because they do not want to see any black person or any person of color on screen. I recognize that, and I should have been a bit more specific with that. The problem is that now everyone who dislikes the movie has been labeled as a white supremacist, and that I will take a massive issue with. So the reality of fact is you have people that dislike the movie for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes they are unfortunately racial reasons, and it's people that just want to see white people everywhere and they do not want to see anything else. Of course, I'm not one of those. I disagree with that. I don't think there is anything wrong with having a movie with white people, having a movie with black people, having a movie with mixed, depending on where the movie is set or the video game is set, as long as it makes sense within that setting. And I will take issue with both extremes, in the sense people that just have to remove anything white from screen now. Yeah, anti-white sentiment is nonsense, but at the same time, people that are actual white supremacists and they're like, no, I don't want to see a black actor on screen. It was like, okay, well, it's not on you, and I personally am not represented by you because I don't have a problem. As long as they do it in a logical sense, then I have nothing against it.
Our day and age, we now have the power to create media that is inclusive, and that is true. But we also need to remember that that means giving the people that create these movies and films control over the stories that define you. They have the power to tell other people who you are. So let's make sure they do it right. And this is the nutshell of the discussion. Do you want the stories that define black people to be white stories? In other words, do black people need white people to give them their story/history? Hell no.
How far right of me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm so far right, I'm going to become far left. I'm going to go all the way around. Because, I mean, what a far right statement that I made there. Yeah, what a grifter. Whew, all this grifting. What can I buy with it? So I got a Commodore 64. I've got my little live on-air sign. I could buy another one. Like, I love neon. You know, it's pretty costly. So grifting kind of helps with that. So it's lovely. And I've got a Comic Street Fighter Ryu. Look at my grift. This is my grift materialized into Hadouken. Then anything else? Got a mouse from 1987. That was, you know, I got to show it on camera. Come on, Metatron, be a man. Tank. Look at this tank. Fish tank. Anyways.
Africa is full of history. Blackwashing a white historical character is a way big companies are masquerading their real thoughts and intentions. What this is really telling you is white stories are the only ones that matter. So okay, we'll cast a few black people since that's what's trending, but you gotta use white stories. It's insulting towards black people. And that is what this movie did right. That is the one thing that we should absolutely praise. Yes, they're casting a lot of black actors, but it's set in Africa. They're telling us about black history, black stories, black historical characters. That's why I say it's a step in the right direction. I appreciate that, or I would have. But there is a massive however here. Now, did they do a good job? No.
I still stand by that. They did not do a good job. And I'm going to go I'm going to go deeper on this one. I'm going to go deeper. I'll tell you why. I will say something today. It's going to get clipped by my haters 1,500 times. I'm still going to say it. Because freedom of speech and because the truth shall prevail.
Because it's historical and it's real.
Based on a true story. Well, we really need to talk about the word true here. So, too long didn't read version, the premise is great, the execution is horrible. It feels like this film's script has been generated by an AI trying to make the highest money return possible off a current trend in the shallowest and most disconnected way possible.
Hold on a minute, Metatron. I'd like to underline that Viola Davis agrees with me when it comes to the money component. Let me show you. From Viola Davis's interview, we read, I was talking to your co-star, Lashana Lynch, said Edwards, and she said, you know, I'm tired of these black movies just being a moment. And for some reasons, she felt like this isn't just a moment, this can be the new normal going forward. That wasn't what I planned to ask you today, but that just resonated with me, he added before turning the question to Davis. What do you think about that in terms of moving forward and making this normal, because this carpet feels different to me and I've been doing this for a while. Check this out. To this, Davis replied, absolutely, I completely 100% agree. However, she did have one caveat telling Edwards, but here's the thing I'm going to add to that. It will just be a moment if people don't come see the movie. Okay, she continues, because you're sending a very clear message to a machine called Hollywood. Hollywood is interested in green. Hey, Viola Davis, you agree with me. Or do I agree with you? Since, I mean, you're the famous one here. I'm just a guy on YouTube. Am I agreeing with you? You're agreeing with me? I don't know. But green, it is. And also, this is the only thing I agree with Viola Davis when it comes to the interview. So there is that. Just wanted to cherish the moment. Back to Metatron. Debunk, 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 Metatron.
The film does get a few historical details right. We see Ifa divination, which was a nice touch. And I've got to say that as an action piece, it's not bad. I mean, the combat is fun. But ultimately it wanted to be a crowd pleaser, and it failed. Monumentally. Why? Well, dear writers and directors of the movie, because black people are not stupid. They know what you're all about. The reason why I think this film failed miserably, dear Viola Davis, regardless of how much money it actually ends up making, is because the film is not about the fidelity of the historical events. It never was.
It never was. It never was. And I'm going to double down on this part when it comes to I'm going to make myself a little smaller so I don't cut my eyes out. But anyways, the reason why I strongly, and I'm going to double down on this, the reason why I think the film failed when it comes to being historical and real, it's because the protagonist, Nanisca, is an anti-slavery freedom fighter. That makes absolutely zero sense within the context, the historical context, should I say, of the Kingdom of Dahomey, which was an extremely pro-slavery kingdom. I will, of course, give you the details to this, but that is the strongest element of opposition that I kind of hinted towards here, that I'm going to present here, and then I'm going to double down. And that is a historical fact. In fact, let me prove it to you.
We are the spear of victory! We are the blade of freedom!
We are the blade of freedom. Do you think they say once? No, let me show you.
Our ancestors weep for the pain we have felt in the dark hulls of ships when the wind blows. Our ancestors push us to march into battle against those who enslave us. Our ancestors demand we rip the shackles of doubt from our minds, and we fight not just for today, but for the future. We are the blade of freedom.
Let me get this straight. General Nanisca, a native of the Kingdom of Dahomey, one of the most pro-slavery kingdoms in African history, dare I say. Extremely successful at it, by the way, both in terms of collecting slaves for themselves from other African tribes and from other African kingdoms, but also when it comes to selling to the European. She's brought up in this culture, and yet she is the most motivated anti-slavery freedom fighter ever. Not only that, they say it multiple times that they are the blade of freedom. the same blade that would have been used against other Africans numerous times to enslave them. She's speaking to the whole contingent, I suppose, or battalion of women warriors, which are real, and I'll tell you more about them because, I mean, not only in the 20s like now, but in the 1890s, they were deployed at that time against the French. They are real, but a lot of them would have been slaves as well. So she's telling all of these other women warriors who once again belong to the Kingdom of Dahomey, and they were brought up in the culture, and they all agree with her. In fact, they are so inspired by this freedom, because the ancestors want this. Ancestors of what? Of what culture are we talking about? Because this is a kingdom that was tip of the spear, end of the line, edge of the blade, when it comes to taking slaves. That's a historical fact. That's why the title of my video is that it's propaganda lies versus historical truth. And here comes the part that is going to get clipped. But I'm going to say it because I tell it how it is. If you wanted to make an anti-slavery movie set in 1820s Africa, specifically in the context of the Kingdom of Dahomey, you know who the protagonist should be? The British. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Now, would I suggest you to do that? No, I would be like, no, give me another African kingdom if you want to do that. Or if anything, drop the whole pro-freedom fighter, which, by the way, I agree with, because slavery is horrible. Apparently, I need to say it. You know what you should do? I'll show you. I'll show you. You should make a documentary or a movie, like I did, about the African warrior queen who fought against the Roman Empire. By the way, queen. Not woman king. Woman queen. She's the real deal. She fought against the invaders who were the ancient Romans. She fought well. I'm not going to spoil everything. The Romans win at the end. But then again, it's a very interesting discussion that nobody knows about, and it's true. These are freedom fighters against invaders. This is what it is. I did it. It's here. Call me racist all you want. I did it. It's here. Got 46,000 views. It will continue to get views. And in fact, if you are an African or an African American subscriber of mine, ignore these people because they're not telling you the truth. This is the truth. It's very interesting. And if you want to learn about the continent that is your root and your history, check this out. You're going to love it. I did you justice with this one, differently for what they did. But whether it's going to get me demonetized or not, the real truth is that the British between the I can't check it now, but 1830s to 1850s, 60s, is when they did the naval blockade that prevented the continuous slavery situation because they realized, luckily, we should stop buying human beings as property. Luckily, they finally figured that one out after buying so many, I'd like to underline. But then again, if you want pro-freedom, anti-slavery, it's wrong choice. Wrong choice. Highly fictional. Now, given, I get it. Nanisca, in her own specific story, she's a completely made-up character, and therefore she had her own horrible experience with being enslaved and all that. Great. Still, the wrong kingdom. I'm just going to double down on that. It's the wrong setting. It would be like making a video about the Italian fascists and one of the highest generals, right arm of Benito Mussolini, is a pro-freedom, respect other people. Let's not do a one-party system. I'm against dictatorial regime. This pacifist. Yeah. Do you think that would fly? Tell me I'm wrong. Hate me all you want, but tell me I'm wrong. Minute 6:08. We got a lot to cover. Flaming with the truth today. There we go. How about that?
Actually ends up making is because the film is not about the fidelity of the historical events. It never was. It's all about pushing a specific message, and I'll show you what that message is. We'll expose it. But first, let's check out the film's plot. The Woman King. In the 1800s, a group of all-female warriors protects the African Kingdom of Dahomey with skills and fierceness unlike anything the world has ever seen. Faced with a new threat, General Nanisca trains the next generation of recruits to fight against a foreign enemy that's determined to destroy their way of life. Now let me translate that from English to truthish. The film is all about the Kingdom of Dahomey and its warriors who need to liberate this good black kingdom from the evil white Europeans who want to take away their freedom.
Okay, when it comes to this one, I do have to admit that I did not make myself clear, and I have to readdress it because the way I presented it is not good. So I'm going to let myself finish this point, but do keep in mind, I'm going to have to debunk myself on this one because I got to be fair. Let's go.
An evil is coming.
The good king of Dahomey, who is convinced by his strong women warriors that slavery is wrong, understands that they should stop slavery and start selling palm oil instead. Freedom, liberty, against the oppressor. Slaving is wrong, slavery is wrong, strong women, great, no slavery, freedom mate, freedom.
Okay, so let me address that. It's important to underline the fact that the main antagonist or the villain to the actual movie and the plot is not the white Europeans. Only occasionally, I think there is one part where Viola Davis, so Nanisca, does speak ill about the European invaders, but apart from that, the majority, so when it comes to the real villains, the antagonist, it's the other African kingdom, so the kingdom of Oyo, and that is the whole situation. Besides, the actual king, when she's trying to convince the king to give up slavery, but he doesn't budge. For context. Now, why did I say that then? Why did I say it's a good black kingdom against bad white colonizers or invaders? Here's why. If you watch the trailer, that is the sentiment you get. But as you watch the movie, and I will also answer the question whether I did watch it or not, stick around and I'll tell you that, since that is being called into question as well. But when it comes to the movie, as you watch the movie, you'll notice that at the end of the day, as we say, the real antagonist only marginally would be Europeans, but in general, it's this other black kingdom. What I should have made a better effort to explain here is that my position of the movie suggesting or having a sort of anti-European sentiment was meant to be received as a subliminal component. I didn't mean that it was written as a main blatant plot point, but that it was hinted as a sort of dog whistle. I still believe that, and if you do check out the trailer, you will get that feeling as you watch it. But I have to admit that I did not explain that that's what I meant when I produced the video, which of course created a little bit of backlash behind the scenes, which is totally fair. So to reiterate and clarify this point, I am well aware, and I made a mistake not explaining this, that the real full-on plot antagonist is the Kingdom of Oyo, not necessarily the Europeans. They do appear a few times and she fights them. There's this whole scene where she goes with a sword and the guy misses and the white guy misses the shot. Like, they also appear as one of the antagonists, which once again doesn't make sense because it's the white guys that want to stop slavery in this case. Not that, so, but they're still twisting it around, if you see where I'm going with this, and you're familiar with both the French authorities and the English authorities, or Great British authorities, and the way they tried and eventually succeed in blocking slave trade, or specifically against this kingdom, which then will lead in the 1890s to the two Franco-Dahomey wars. So I still think it's complete nonsense and my point stands firm, but I should have explained that the whole idea of good indigenous versus bad white colonizers was subliminal. It was a subliminal point. That was my accusation.
The reason of my facepalm is because this is as accurate a description of the Kingdom of Dahomey, that specific king, and the all-female warriors as a movie that shows the ancient Romans as being all about peace and love.
Exactly.
It's as accurate as saying that imperial colonists were all about diversity and the defense of minorities.
Because it's historical and it's real.
I think it's fair.
Historical in the loosest possible interpretation / definition of the term. But in reality, the Kingdom of Dahomey was very, very much a main player, if not a major player, when it came to the slavery. In Africa, they were enslaving black people. The real story is a story of violence and black people enslaving other black people, and then selling them to the Europeans, both making profits and blood money through black people's suffering.
Again, prove me wrong. Did I say something wrong? I just want to underline, the people that come in the comment section today and tell me right-wing grifter, racist, you'll be ignored. I will not even read you. The moment I see that, I scroll down. The same way I do it when people from the other side call me woke every time that I speak about anything that they don't like or that doesn't agree with their agenda. Will be completely ignored. But for those of you who are open to discussion, can you prove me wrong? Did I say objectively and logically something wrong up to this point? Is this point that I just made wrong?
The very brave women warriors we see depicted here as the anti-slavery, strong emancipated women faction were historically the very force behind the collection of slaves in Africa.
Also, the costume department is so much better. Like the original, this looks great. Look at the orange, look at the bright colors. This looks great. I love the headwear. I'll have all of the... It's nice. This is the greatest crime that they have dealt. Now they're all like dressed in this freaking... This is what they should have done. Red and oranges and bright colors. That's amazing. Do they even care about this?
Africa, some being slaves themselves. This king was so much into slavery that he was nicknamed the Slave King. The very people that committed the slavery in this movie are represented as people who hate slavery and fight for freedom.
Rewriting history or not wanting to talk about true history, here we have The Woman King that's coming out that is a complete and utter fabrication of history.
Okay, that are always going after the white man for his role in the transatlantic slave trade, but never has nothing to say about the Africans who were a vital part to the success of the Europeans with the transatlantic slave trade, as they were the ones they were rounding up the African slaves in the first place.
I mean, the point is correct. I don't care if the person who is speaking something that is historically correct is a super liberal or an ultra conservative. I mean, I don't care. What am I supposed to do? Say, no, well, he did say something real and true, but I cannot show it because, I mean, he's a right-winger, so I'm not supposed to. Or, well, no, because it's a liberal, so, no, I shouldn't, it doesn't matter. I don't have that kind of polarizing political brain, and I never will. I'm a moderate. I just look at things statement by statement, fact by fact, policy by policy, and upon close inspection, I will agree or disagree based on documented facts. And that's why I get backlash from both extremes.
Film is literally rewriting the villains as heroes because they have a certain skin color and gender.
Okay, so let me expand on that and let's check out the article about this, because another idea that really annoys me is this fixation with ethnicity. Check this out. Viola Davis says, according to star Viola Davis, any audience member who declines to financially support The Woman King and see the film in theaters is supporting the narrative that black women cannot lead the box office globally. This is called mental manipulation, by the way. So if you had told me, hey, we made a really good movie, we loved it, we had a great time, we put so much sweat and work, please come and check it out, I would watch it. But the moment you tell me, well, if you don't do this, then this is the bad thing that you're doing, that's mental manipulation, I do not appreciate it, and therefore I did not go to the theaters to watch it and never will. But the other thing that I dislike about this is, notice this, black woman. The movie is not about history, it's about ethnicity and this specific. Let's continue. However, regardless of this particular stain on Kingdom's history, many reviewers have taken to lauding the film as a highlight of black excellence, with comparisons to Marvel's Black Panther regularly being tossed around in general conversations. Once again, another point, ethnic fixation. One such media personality was Tyrone Edwards, a current co-host of the Canadian entertainment talk show E-Talk, who not only praised the film directly to Davis during its September 12th premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, but also inquired as to her thoughts on how audiences can help prevent the hype surrounding The Woman King and other black-led movies from being just a moment. Ethnic. I was talking to your co-star, Lana said Edwards, and she said, you know, I'm tired of these black movies just being a moment. Once again, ethnic fixation. And then Davis answers by saying, but here is the thing, I'm going to add to that. I will just be a moment if people don't come see the movie. So once again, guilt tripping, psychological manipulation. Okay, she continued, because you're sending a very clear message to a machine called Hollywood. Hollywood is interested in green. It just is. It's what I do. So if you don't come see it, then you're sending a message that black women cannot lead the box office globally. You're supporting that narrative. Oh my gosh. I absolutely dislike the ethnic and racial fixation on things. So something is good only if it belongs to this specific ethnic group. Something should be supported only because it doesn't matter if it's written well. It doesn't matter if I personally like the setting. I don't. 1820s, I find it boring. I mean, set it in the freaking medieval period in Africa and show me what they were doing. I'll come and watch it 15 times in a row. But this is not a specific, like, for example, when they built the Great Towers of Zimbabwe, show me that. But no, they choose They choose a setting I don't particularly like, but it shouldn't matter according to her, because I need to support the fact that it's ethnic and then it's talking about strong women. Here is the thing. I think it's wrong to look at things that way. It doesn't matter if you look at things that way in the sense that I'll only support white-led movies. No, I think that's wrong. Support well-made movies and support actors based on their skills, not based on their skin tone. Believe it or not, even though this would be a very logical, sensible, and I want to say centrist, if not apolitical position, these days, for some reasons, this has become a far-right position, has it? I don't even know. But this is what it seems to be, because every time I say that, I get accused of being a far-right or even an alt-right grifter. So at the end of the day, actually the other day, to say something funny, I specifically did a poll on my Twitter, you should definitely come and check it out, where I asked my audience to choose my name. Should I be called the Wokatron, considering how the far right hates me, or should I be called the Metachad, considering how the far left hates me? And at the end of the day, they chose Metachad. So yeah, I'm a Metachad Wokatron, and then there is the winner of the entire thing. Oh, sorry, gosh, where is he? The Magatron. Oh, mate, you're the winner. You are the winner. The Magatron. Unless I want to open a metal band, then I should be the Metaltron. For OnlyFans, I should do Holy Fans, because, you know, Metatron. What a time to be alive. Picking up where we left off.
Ideas for possible movies? Yeah, okay, time is money, you've got 3 minutes. We would like to talk about the Kingdom of Dahomey. Kingdom of what? It's an African kingdom. African kingdom, I like that. Yeah, were they black? Well, yes, sir, it's in Africa. Right. They had this interesting regiment of all women warriors. All women warriors? And they were black? Yes, sir. That's good, that's gonna sell. Were they fighting evil white people? Yes, there were some encounters with the Europeans. Funded. Were they also very nice? Actually, they were slavers. You know, history tells us that they were taking a lot of black slaves, butchering people, beheading slaves. No. These are the good girls, these are the bad guys. What's the name of that movie with Mel Gibson screaming at the end? Braveheart? Yeah, freedom. This is what this film is all about. Freedom. Your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, so once again, I gotta say, a mistake on my part. I have to debunk myself. The movie's not against Europeans openly, only subliminally. I'm gonna still think that, and that's my freedom, by the way, to think that, but whatever. So you will hear me say this again. Consider it debunked, okay? But everything else I said, that's exactly how that meeting went, and we know it. It doesn't matter if you're left, right, center, up, down. You know it. We know it. We all know it.
When it comes to script writing, here is what they're doing. They are creating 2 very definite monoliths. The good people with the good badass warriors who fight for freedom and liberty, and the bad evil white European colonists. Now don't get me wrong, as a European, I'm not saying that the white European colonists were nice people. There is bad everywhere.
Yeah.
But this movie is literally changing the facts completely.
So yeah, the facts were changed, not in this sense. This is where I'm wrong, but the facts were changed because these are not freedom fighters. It makes no sense, and I double down on that, it makes no sense to choose a whole contingent, a whole battalion, including the general from the Kingdom of Dahomey, which was pro-slavery, and make them into anti-slavery freedom fighters. That makes 0 sense, and I will die on that hill. But do keep in mind that the fact that they had women warriors is true. So that's real. Okay, let's not just now try to say, oh, they're just making up the strong women. No, these women were fighters. This is real. It did happen. And they did send them against the Europeans, particularly in like the 1890s when they fight against the French. There are reports from the French that tell us that they call them the Amazons for obvious reasons, but they call them the Amazons of the Kingdom of Dahomey, and they were sent specifically with like a little bit like commando with the specific task force to find and eliminate the French officers. And one time they do manage, but then they get shot by the whole legion section. And in general, the whole, it's the French to win at the end of the day, mostly because of the fact that they had excellent weaponry, they had new weapons that had just come into place, and also bayonet charges.
To please their agenda. The mental gymnastics you have to go through to try and depict this as a movie about empowering black women, which is what they're doing, is Olympic level. The movie would have been interesting if they represented the facts and only romanticized them for entertainment value. They are uncomfortably, let me add, navigating around the truth.
And that's a fact. You can hate it, you can hate me, still a fact. But then they say it's historical and it's real. That's why I attacked. Just like when I attacked Cleopatra, because it was a documentary, and so I attacked it. They made not only Cleopatra black, but the entire Ptolemy family. They're all black. It's not even just Cleopatra. Every single, the sister, the brother, the father, they're all black. And then they say it's a documentary. But then if I attack it, oh, well, Metatron, is it because you're racist? You gotta choose. Is it fiction? Or is it a documentary, historical and real? Words have meaning.
As distant as possible when it doesn't fit their agenda. You know what you call bending the truth and rewriting the facts to coincide with your message and ideas? Propaganda.
I stand
and
by
to
it.
add insult to injury, do you remember that I said at the beginning of the video that there is one statement from Viola Davis that I find to be rather moronic? Well, here it is. She publicly said that if you don't go and watch the movie, in fact, if you don't like the movie, then basically you're a misogynist and a racist.
Okay, so this, I don't think I was fair in the sense that I think I was fed up. I think I was fed up because it was also a specific time when I was making a few others of these videos, and of course, these are the accusations I get. But did she say that specifically? No. So I have to be fair and debunk myself when I say something. I think it was a little bit of an overreaction. Do I agree with how she put it? No, I still think it's mental manipulation. It's very manipulative. It's an approach that makes it look like she's looking down on the people that are against and didn't like the movie. But on the other hand, since I'm asking you to kind of cut me a little bit of slack when I overreacted, I also want to do the same to her because there were people calling for the boycott of the movie. Now, do I agree with boycotting the movie? No, because I'm a huge supporter of freedom of speech. I'm a huge supporter of the First Amendment. I strongly believe in it. And when you say, but you're Italian, why are you saying First Amendment? I live in the USA. I read the Constitution and I strongly agree with that when it comes to people that agree with me or that disagree with me. And the reason why I think that freedom of speech is so important, I'll make a dedicated video, is precisely because I've studied history and I do know what happens when you lose it. And that's also why I disagree with all forms of cancel culture. And in this case, of course, it's a cancel culture that comes from the other side. And it's a cancel culture that is specifically trying to remove a movie because they don't like what it's pushing, which in this case, it's, once again, a strong black woman, propaganda, changing the facts. Do I think they're changing the facts? Yes. Do I think it's a good movie? No. But I do understand that she doesn't like the fact that after having put so much work into it, people are trying to boycott it. I just don't like ideas that have to do with canceling. I'm against cancel culture, whether it be against me or whether it be against someone I dislike.
It's because you don't want to see black women in a leading role.
But yeah.
That's why you don't like the movie.
Well, she did say that at the end, though, so only partially wrong.
You naughty. This is why people don't like this movie, Viola. It has nothing to do with people hating the idea of a strong black woman in a leading role. It's because it's a historically completely inaccurate propaganda piece that you all are selling as historical. That's...
I do have to underline that, yes, absolutely, there are a few people, I want to say a fraction, that are actually racist, that don't like the movie, or maybe they're misogynist because they don't want to see women warriors. I mean, this is a reality. The women warrior part is real. They did exist. They were trained and probably even battle-hardened. So that is a reality, and I have nothing against it. And I understand that there are people that are against that fact. So to this pass myself, I need to tell, well, no, it's a fraction. But some of the people that didn't like the movie and criticized it was because of these two elements, the black component, the woman warrior component. But it is absolutely absurd and unfair to then accuse every single person who didn't like this movie, including you, including me, for historical reasons and tell us, nah, in reality it's because you're misogynist and you're racist. That is no. To that, we say no.
It's rewriting of history. Oh, you didn't like the movie? You must be a racist then. And misogynist. Any other ist we could add? Because my argument is so weak. All I can do is insult people.
Absolutely. That is, I think, one of the craziest things when I read those comments. They call me all sorts of things and liar, particularly the people that call me a liar. I think they are the weakest intellectually, culturally and from an educational standpoint. And in general, their argumentative prowess, they are the weakest of all. Anytime I see a thumbnail and they call me a liar, I'm like, okay, this person, it's not even going to be challenging. It's not even going to be challenging, because at that point, they just demonstrated, without me even clicking, they have demonstrated that they're not capable of presenting a counter-arguments, because if they did, they wouldn't need to call me a liar. They would just debunk me, just like I debunk other creators sometimes. If you are confident with your history and your archaeology and your translations, direct translation from primary sources, you don't need to call someone else a liar. You do that when you don't have any valid argument. And you're trying to, in fact, undermine my argument by attacking me directly with an ad hominem, which is a form of logical fallacy. So what about this idea of this accusation Metatron didn't even watch the movie? So here is how it went. I'd like to remind anyone who watches this channel is that this channel is a team effort. What this means is that we will choose a few topics, and then I have a bunch of researchers, professionals behind me, PhD, postdoctoral, anthropologist, classicist, Egyptologist, linguist, and they help me carry the load of the channel, because I post every single day, try to maintain quality, want to do deep research content, but produce it quickly, and then it goes to the editors, and then I finish up with my own personal editing touches, which I do every single time. So all of this is a team effort. What this means is that when we are reviewing a movie, or we are reviewing a show, and sometimes when we are reviewing a very long video from another creator, we share the load. So I first watched the trailer, the entire trailer, and I decided, hey, this is worth addressing. So then we found the movie, or sections of the movie, since we didn't want to go to the theater. So it is this part, 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, another 20 minutes, the battle part. We put it all together and we shared it among ourselves. So I watched a few sections. One of my lead historians watched the other. The Egyptologists, the African specialists watched another few things. And then we got together and we decided, hey, what did you find? Oh, you found this. Show me this piece. Show me this other piece, this other part. So did I single-handedly watch the entire movie? No, I didn't. And there is nothing wrong with that. Also because I would have fallen asleep. I watched the trailer. I watched some sections that I deemed important and conclusive. For example, when they scream freedom, 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 that's enough for me to debunk it already. That's enough, particularly if you're familiar with the history. But altogether, we did watch the entire movie. So that is the truth. And people can attack me all they want. Could I have put a different title? Maybe I could have said reaction to the trailer, but then again, it is the full movie, so why would I do that? But I didn't watch the entire movie. You don't need to watch the entire movie. Will I ever watch the entire movie? Only if Viola Davis sends me a wire transfer of $10,000. Then I'll watch every single minute of it.
You're screaming misogyny at people who don't like historical misrepresentation. That is the definition of a misnomer.
Yeah, she didn't exactly scream misogyny, so that's another part that I think I might even cut it off from the original movie, from my original video, because I'm not being fair there.
This is the wrong setting to talk about freedom, liberty, righteous defense of one's culture against the oppressor, strong, free black women that kick ass. We would have loved to still learn about this very intriguing all-female warrior regiment, but you had to add, oh, these are the good guys, girls. They love freedom and hate slavery, while erasing anything that would make them look bad.
There's a shit ton of stories right here in America that can encourage black women. Mm-hmm. We ain't gotta go to a dead tribe and find out that this dead tribe was one of the key factors to the slave trade in the first place.
Now let me say something about Gary Lamb. I don't know his politics. I have no idea. I didn't watch any other of his videos. I only watched this short. But I really like his line of argumentation. It was solid, logical, and made sense. To me, that was enough to include him on my video and give him a little shout out. How is that the wrong course of action? Why are some people expecting me to listen to him, think, hey, I agree with everything this guy is saying, but before I feature him, let me just double check, oh, he's a right-winger, or oh, he's a liberal? Okay, then I disagree with what he said. How does that work? Isn't that the wrong thing to do? In fact, immoral thing to do. But these statements that he just made in isolation make perfect sense. So I don't care about his personal politics because it's his freedom. It's his freedom. And to be honest, as long as he's not an extreme radical and he doesn't sound like it, I don't have a problem whether he's a left guy or a right guy. Who cares? Who cares? He seems like a nice guy. And what he's saying Makes sense.
Beautifully said. Now I'm going to tell you the real story of the Kingdom of Dahomey and its women warriors.
Okay, so then if you want to watch the whole section about the history or the historical part, it begins on minute 12:52. I will put a link to this video in the description. But I think for today, I have covered everything I wanted to about this. So, was I unfair a few times when I made this video? Yes, I was. And did I not make myself as clear as I could have when it comes to who the villain is in the movie, and therefore ending up misrepresenting part of the plot? I admit that 100%. But I think that everything else on the video is well made, and the points that I make are strong. And most importantly, the whole idea that the movie did a massive disservice, not only to African history, but in general to the concept of how to represent who the people that fight for freedom were, I still think it's a solid point, and therefore, regardless of what sort of backlash I may get, I double down. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.